We will be calling our meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. Members present, please.
Marie Brizuela. Here. Maybelle Manio. Here. Clayton Koo. Manufo Leah Inga Anawai.
Here. At this time, I also wanted to mention that at the end of our meeting, we'll be closing in honor of Miss Linda Flynn McNesby, who we know was a wonderful teacher at Woodrow Wilson Elementary School. And I wanted to share this because not everyone is always with us when we close our session. She was hired in September 6th, 1990, and her 28 years of service here in the district was at Woodrow Wilson, predominantly teaching 3rd and 4th grades. She was very active in her school community and with the AFT local chapter. She was from San Bruno and went to Cappuccino High School and graduated from San Francisco State with her credential. So we will be closing out this evening's meeting in her honor and memory. And at this time, we'd like to have our Pledge of Allegiance that will be led by our wonderful representatives from Garden Village. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. So we're doing, I think we're need to see about
Yeah.
yes, this one point.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Did you want?
Yeah, if I can find it. This one. Oh, I'll do this one. Okay.
Pass these out.
Do I have one?
Did you do this right now? I forgot.
After, yeah. Are they going to do a presentation?
Yes, and at this time, we will briefly review our board meeting guidelines.
So they're going to do the presentation afterwards. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And at this moment, do we have a motion for approval of our agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We're happy to welcome this evening for a special presentation from Principal Carolyn Casey and the students of Garden Village Elementary. They will be presenting about the Dairies Council cow visit and share their reflections. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, Governing Board, community members. I'm Carolyn Casey. I'm principal at Garden Village School. Thank you for giving us this time to share about the dairy cow visit in August. We'd like to start with a quick video, and I want to thank Ms. Sanford, one of the 3rd grade teachers, for putting this together. And then after that, we have some students to speak.
up the grass, but they eat and they chew it again, and then now they could digest it.
Cows' tongues are more than this long, and they have no front teeth, so they use their tongue to bring their food to their back teeth. Cows eat dead grass. I learned that cows don't have 4 stomachs, they have one with 4 pockets, like compartments. I learned that even though cows are fat, don't make fun of them, and when they go bathroom, you have to clap, and it's hard to milk them.
You can only milk cows like this.
You should.
I learned that the tags that cows have in their ears have their birthday, how old they are, and when they were born. I know that a cow eats food, hay four times a day. First, he eats his breakfast, then goes to his first pocket, then it comes out, and then he eats breakfast again, then he eats lunch, then he eats dinner, and then sleeps. And
Brown cows don't make chocolate milk.
I learned about that cows poop and pee whenever time they want.
They're 100 pounds when they're 1 month.
I learned that cows could, on the first pocket, they burp it out, and then on the second pocket, then the third pocket, and the fourth pocket.
I learned that cows get pregnant when they're 3 years old.
Cows are herbivores. They only eat plants.
Comes all the way to the cafeteria. Baby cows grow a foot when they're at least 2 weeks old.
They have bottom teeth, not front teeth.
I learned that cows chew side to side and they don't chew up and down.
Cows chew food for more than 10 hours.
I learned about a cow that they have a bump on their head is actually their horn.
Cows are 100 pounds when they're 1 month old. Cows can pick their boogers with their tongue.
Thank you. Now we have Samantha Yost and Joseph Alvarez. Can you scooch? I know you're in height.
Okay.
And they have a little something to tell you.
Okay. On August 28th, the cows came to Garden Village School. The big cow was only 3 years old, but she was huge. Her name was Buttercup. Buttercup was white with black spots. The dairy farmer's name was Brandon. He was great.
Brandon taught us about the parts of a cow. He told us that the cow has 4 pockets in her stomach. He told us that the cows chew their food twice. He taught us the word udder. He showed us milking a machine and also showed us how to milk a cow with our hands. Did you know that cows use their tongue to pick up their food and to pick their nose?
As a surprise, Brandon bought a baby calf named Olaf. All of us got to pet Olaf. It was a fun assembly. Now we want you to practice milking a cow.
Turn one hand upside down with the thumb hanging down. That is your udder. Take the other hand gently, squeeze one finger at a time. When you really milk a cow, you have to do this really fast. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh.
Thank you so much for sharing the mobile dairy visit. We look forward to maybe visiting it when it comes back to the school. Would that be okay? Yeah? Do you have any questions or comments from the board?
No, but I sure learned a lot about cows. I thought the milk came in a carton. So did you enjoy it? Sounds like it. Sounds like it.
I was going to say thanks for the students for presenting. I think you guys did a terrific job on the presentation, so thanks again.
I think I liked it the most because all of you took part of saying something. All of you were as a team, which was great. And you're still smiling.
Trustee Manuel.
I just want to say thank you guys for coming, and I'm so glad you guys had that opportunity to meet that cow. Thank you.
We have a little certificate of appreciation for each of you this evening. So we'll start with Trustee Koo.
Aw, cute. They're so cute.
Thank you again, Garden Village. We appreciate you visiting us this evening and all the hard work and wonderful things happening there. Thank you.
Yay. You're welcome.
All right, so we are now moving on to communications. And at this time, we will have board member acknowledgements and commendations, and we will start with Trustee Brusuela.
Okay. I don't have too many. We've been a few activities that we've gone to, but just looking forward to a lot of things that are coming up now. I know we have the open houses, and we for the middle schools coming up. And other than that, thank you all for coming, and I sure hope we get to see that program again. Will it come back again? The milk? Every year. Okay, great. So other than that, I'm going to pass.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Manuel, did you have any acknowledgements or commendations that you wanted to share this evening?
No, not at this moment.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Koo?
I was able to visit the open house at George Washington Elementary School. They did a great job. It was a great turnout and just kind of went around all the schools. It was just good, just well planned overall. I also attended the Daniel Webster art show at the Sanchez Center in Pacifica. It was part of their 50/50 art showcase, and Daniel Webster was selected, as well as a ton of artists from across the Bay Area and across the country. So I just want to commend both of those events for a great job. Well done.
Thank you. Oh, we have one more share.
Okay, so I just want to say I was pleased to go to Woodrow Wilson School to see the beautiful soccer field. And what a great presentation that was. And it was everybody from teachers to parents to board members. Everybody was there being a part of the celebration. It was wonderful. And also I went to Westlake School where they had a family night. And those are all exciting to watch them, parents coming and interacting with the teachers and students. And it was great. So I forgot about that. You have to call me last.
Thank you. I don't have any acknowledgements, but I did just want to share that during Daniel Webster's event, the superintendent and I we were invited to meet and visit Bayshore, and we met with the superintendent and the president there, and they were just sharing some of the happenings there and talked about collaboration. And they have a few great events coming up that they wanted to extend the invitation. It isn't till the latter part of this year, but I did attend last year, and it's Christmas in the park that they have, and it's open to everyone in Daly City, where they give out free toys for all ages, and you just have to sign up, no questions asked. And I was told this morning that those sign-ups start the first week of October. But we thought this was unusual for me, being on the board at this time, to have another school district reach out and say that they would like to, get to know each other better, which I think is wonderful, because North County, many times, we don't have that opportunity to be acknowledged amongst each other as well as throughout the county. And I say that a lot when I'm in Central and South, that a lot of times we don't get to toot our horn about the wonderful things happening and or speak to collaboration. So, without further ado, I wanted to turn the time over to the superintendent for any correspondence and comments.
I don't have any correspondence, but yes, we did have open house at all of our elementary schools last week. I was able to attend only 2. And again, it was great to see the parent turnout, excited, beginning of the year energy, learning about their classrooms and expectations in the classroom. We will have our middle school open house next Thursday, and then the preschool will have their open house tomorrow. And so it's an open house month. We have, earlier this week, we had an opportunity to visit 3 schools as part of trying to develop a promotional video for our district. We visited MP Brown, John F. Kennedy, and TR Policita to highlight both programs and facility improvements that we've made. A youth cinema project certainly was one of the things that was videoed, the garden program that exists at JF Kennedy, but also at many other schools. And of course, the TR Policita improvements, with the drop-off and the pickup and the other improvements, those will be highlighted. So I look forward to seeing the finished product when we get it, and I will make sure to share that.
Thank you. At this time, we have administrator comments.
Sure. I had the privilege of visiting Garden Village in Westlake's back-to-school night this week, and see all the tons of parents coming, and a lot of students came too to show off their school. A lot of family engagement we were seeing happening at those sites. And then also just, it's before the next board meeting, so I wanted to announce our next Parent Involvement Advisory Committee meeting is happening on Tuesday, September 25th. It will be held from 6 to 7:30 with dinner at the district office. So I wanted to make sure the word got out. To attend, I'll be sending out communication to the emails that I've had in the past as a reminder with the agenda, but I wanted to make that announcement as well.
Thank you.
I had the privilege of being able to visit Woodrow Wilson School and also seeing the soccer field there and all the kids sitting on it and running on it and playing on it. That's really nice to see since they don't have the green space otherwise. As well, I went to SBA school, Susan B. Anthony, and that was very enjoyable as well. I want to say that the kids are lucky these days to have the cows coming to school and to have the little calf as well, and to be able to try to milk. It's very exciting, and unfortunately I didn't get to do that when I was a kid. Also, I just want to remind everybody that please sign up for a free and fill out the applications for free or reduced lunch or breakfast, particularly if you are low income and you would like the food for your children. Even if you're not, we do have a drawing, and anybody who signs up or fills in an application will be entered into the free drawing. You don't have to qualify in order to enter. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we have persons who wish to address the board. And this portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on any issue that is under the board's jurisdiction and not on the agenda. And the maximum time allowed for any speaker is usually 2 minutes. So I have a few speaker cards here. And our first one is Christine Ardenetto, teacher at SBA, and she is speaking on teacher salaries.
Hi, I'm Christine Adornetto. I teach at Susan B. Anthony. I've been teaching for 7 years, and I wanted to come up here and just talk about the struggles of being a teacher mom with the pay that we have, and the fact that with preschool right now, it's $2,200 a month for 2 kids, while still trying to teach. I job shared for 3 years so that I could stay home and kind of offset the cost, but at the same time, I was making $150 a month with the insurance taken out. So I'm up here just asking for you to really consider more than a 1 or 2% raise, that we need to have a cost of living that we can live with. And with the economy here and the housing and the rent, it's too much for how little of a raise we keep getting. So I would love to keep teaching, but right now if it stays this way, I'm not going to be able to. I had notes, but they're on the iPhone that's now been commandeered by the 2-year-old. But I really just would like you to take into consideration that what the pay is, we need to have it raised so that it's able to keep us going, where we're not having 2 or 3 jobs to make it through the school year. Because at this point, most of us have multiple jobs on top of raising families and teaching, which we love, and we never want to give that up. But just in this economy, in the Bay Area, we need to see more. So that's what I'm here to ask for. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Ms. Pamela DeGiovanni.
Good evening, President, Vice President, board members. I want to say this was a pleasure going to see the soccer field and all the excitement that was at Woodrow, and see how we could turn our urban environment to something positive. And also went to the Westlake School, so there's a lot of positive things happening. But on the sad note, by being at the community school with, that's supposed to be the Woodrow School, it was Linda, the special teacher that spearheaded along with Melinda and all the other special teachers to make that school one of the community schools. Heartbreaking to find out that it was shocking. And I wanted to express my condolences, heartfelt condolences, to Melinda Dart, Elaine Francisco, Paul, all the other teachers at Woodrow, and throughout the district. I'm sure you all feel it. And that, I don't know, there aren't any words to say when you lose somebody like that. So some people are replaceable, but she was pretty special in her energy, and so I know that it'll continue. But in her honor and everything else, please think about and consider how hard these teachers work. They're under extreme stress in the Bay Area, and we need to recognize that, and it does affect their health. You know, we may not see it, but just the pressures of being a mother, a teacher, we've already lost, I've been in these meetings when they've had to leave. One went to Texas. that wanted to do something with the STEM program. So as a community member, as someone that believes that we can all work together for the betterment of the whole community as a whole and look for a bright future together, I know that these things are challenging when you go through negotiations, but 1%, 2%, with the cost going up extraordinary, please reconsider that. And I don't know if what the board has as far as a Me Too clause or whatever, but reconsider that when there's things at the top and then there's something in the middle, and the teachers have to be the ones in the classrooms going through this. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. At this time, we have Melinda Dart, who will be honoring Miss Linda McNesby.
Good evening, everyone. I did want to share a little bit with everyone about Linda Flynn McNesby because I know, of course, everyone is shocked by her sudden death, and students have been coming back from the middle school and the high schools because they heard about their teacher. She's had a huge impact at Woodrow. But what you might not know is just how central Linda was to Woodrow Wilson. I've heard more than one person, in fact almost everyone at Woodrow, call her the heart and soul of Woodrow Wilson. At the recent soccer field dedication, Linda was the one chosen to speak for everyone. And she spoke not just to the adults but to the children, because that was the way Linda was. She did all the planning of field trips at Woodrow, never just for her class. It usually involved taking 60 or 80 kids to the tide pools or to the Rancho Sanchez Adobe or to a picnic. Linda was the one filling out the papers, getting the buses, fundraising for the trips, getting the grants for the trips. She worked and got grants for the community garden there. Recently, when they were able to create a parent room out of a dusty, terrible book room, it was Linda in there cleaning it with some other teachers and making it look like it's amazing now, a real fabulous space for parents. She did Earth Day, Ocean Week, assemblies, multicultural studies that culminated in feasts and celebrations. Outdoor Ed, she did fundraising for that and went there numerous times and spent a week in the cabins, even when she didn't teach that grade, because a lot of teachers somehow, I'm not sure why, they don't want to go spend a week in a cabin with a bunch of kids. So she would volunteer to do it. And she worked with PTA, she worked with the Site Council. She became, with time, the AFT rep, and I heard somebody today call her the voice of reason at school. And she certainly was involved in all of our AFT events, including, you may remember, the famous first book event where we had to work for like days to get 40,000 books set up. She was there with a forklift. Yeah, I mean, Linda was amazing. And every year her students were inspired with her infectious love of literature, her love of California history, and her love of science and math. Just last week I met a former student at the gym where I sometimes meet them, and she is now going into medicine because of Linda's inspiration. The day before Linda died, she was working at the food bank, as she did every Saturday till 4 p.m. And her dream, as you've heard, was to see Woodrow Wilson become a full community school. And it's well on the way. And she was there early and stayed late and worked weekends to make that dream come true. So we ask that over the next few years, we all stand together to really make that happen. And that may be in various forms, right? And as we move forward at the school with plans for expanding her garden, we hope that we will have everyone's support, that we could enlarge that community garden there. And as the staff begins to explore how they might honor Linda at their school, we hope that you all will listen with an open mind. They have a dream of seeing that school become a full community school and be named a community school. And the staff there wants to honor her by seeing her dreams realized. And we invite you all tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. at Woodrow Wilson. There will be a ceremony for parents and children, and they will be honoring her by putting a few more plants in the garden. So we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Miss Elaine Francisco, also honoring Miss McNisby.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elaine Francisco. I'm a teacher at Thomas Edison School. Last Thursday, I mentioned the name of Linda a couple of times in a meeting I had at Thomas Edison in regards to Family Education Night. I bragged that Linda would be my partner in coordinating our family events since she would take over the responsibility next year as I plan to exit and retire in June of next year. Our family education events started in 2012 and have been in existence for the past 6 years. Linda McNesby coordinated Woodrow Wilson's family events for the past 6 years without fail. In 2013, when we had a Common Core conference with parents, Linda was at Woodrow before 6 a.m. to set up the place and prepare for the event. In 2016, when AFT sponsored the first book event, Linda was the very first one to mobilize volunteers at Woodrow to help us make it happen. When the idea of community schools came up, Linda eagerly came on board and never stopped in showing her passion to fulfill the vision for Woodrow to become a community school. Linda was a non-stop advocate for teachers and Daly City community. She was a silent yet fierce advocate for public education, and she showed her full support by her simple ways to teachers as well as her principal, humbly and consistently. Because of her sincerity and hard work, Linda became the heart and soul of Woodrow Wilson, as what Melinda had mentioned. We are now all called to continue her advocacy and fulfill her vision for Woodrow. I call on you, board members and cabinet members, to please think of creative ways to show our deep appreciation for this wonderful and awesome teacher who served our community for the past 28 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we have Mr. Ray Keenan, who will speak about stop signs and gophers.
Good evening, members of the board and Bernie. I've seen Bernie quite a few times, I think. I'm not a good speaker like everybody else, but we have problems with the school's gophers coming into our property and tearing up. We got to take and shovel dirt off of our sidewalks so somebody don't trip and fall or that. And Bernie says they're too expensive to get rid of them, but you guys have done a wonderful job on the building. You've done a wonderful job on the schoolyard, on their playgrounds and that, but nothing for us neighbors. Would you, and another thing, I'm trying to save you money on this one. If you would please put up stop signs, or not stop signs itself, but a speed limit around the school, at least where I live, Lincoln and Lakeshire and that. And because they come through there, these people coming to pick up their kids and that, we can't even back out of our driveway without my wife getting out sometimes and directing traffic so we can get out. And I'm not saying that you guys can do this or not. I'm not asking that or not. But we took a trip for over 5,000 miles this summer. And every little town we went through with a schoolyard or school, there had signs up, 15, 25 miles an hour. And they didn't have nothing else. I mean, but little bitty towns, but they still can think of their children. If somebody gets killed one of these days because they speeding like that, then you guys will probably get sued. and I'm trying to save you money and not to get sued. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pena. We don't have any more speaker cards at this time, and we want to thank everyone for making the time to join us in our meeting, and also for sharing and honoring, and of course, sharing things that you may be experiencing at this time. Before we move on to general functions, I know that most of you won't be here, but I just think it's pretty amazing to look across this room and know that many of you are here in the spirit of honoring a wonderful individual who has contributed greatly to not just our schools, but to our communities. And while I didn't have a lot of interaction with her, I know that every single time that I did was always positive. But to hear of all the unknowns that many of us may not have known about her is pretty profound for me. And I know, of course, for her students and those who knew her. So all I can say is that I would encourage everyone to continue to be that light. I mean, we're struggling and suffering well and suffering in the memory of her, but it's pretty awesome to be able to continue her legacy by embracing her spirit and the work that she really brought to each of us. And so it's wonderful that our district had someone give so much to each of us every day. And at this time, we will move forward with our meeting with our consent agenda. And I'd like to ask if we have a motion to approve our consent agenda, or if we have any items that need to be reviewed.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ali?
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela?
Aye.
Ms. Manio?
Aye.
Mr. Koo?
Aye.
Ms. Leah Inga Anawai?
Aye. Thank you. So we will now move on to business and financial procedures. We have now Ms. Kessler will be sharing with us the fiscal year 2017-2018 unaudited actuals, and for the administration's review and approval. Thank you, Ms. Kessler.
So thick.
I don't think I need the stool. All right, so we're over here today, are we? Okay, so I know we have a new board member, and so I'd like to just let you know what this is all about. Several times throughout the year, I give presentations about the financial condition of the district, and one of them, the end one, is the unaudited actuals. And so throughout the year, there are certain ones that you need to approve. There's adopted budget, first interim, second interim, and unaudited, adopted budget, I said that already, and unaudited actuals. So these are the unaudited actuals, and what they are, they're a summary of our financial transactions for the previous year. So that would be from July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. And so they reflect all the transactions that have happened there. And boards are required to approve them by September 15th of each year. Then they go to the auditors. The auditors will audit them. It will be submitted to the state and the county by December 15th. And then the auditors will come to you with the audited actuals, and we will ask you to approve them at that time. So I know this looks a little bit small for the audience here, but this is the transaction summary for all of our funds, and we have a lot of different funds that are all different. The major ones that we work off throughout the year are the general fund. There's the unrestricted and restricted portion of the general fund, and to combine the general fund. We have the beginning balance at the beginning of the year of all the different funds, all the revenues that come in, all the expenditures that go out, and what is remaining at the end of the year. So when I come to you with the first interim, I present to you the changes between the adopted budget and the first interim. When I come to you with the second interim, I present to you the changes that had happened since the first interim to the second interim, and now I will present to you the changes that happened from the second interim to the unaudited actuals. All the other ones are budget numbers that we're looking at, and these are actual figures or actual expenses at this point. So this is what the end fund balance would have been at second interim. The budgeted end balance at second interim, and then this is what the end balance is in the unaudited actuals, which has a $3 million difference, and I will be explaining that to you as we go along. This is a really important slide. This kind of tells it all in a nutshell. For the unrestricted general fund, so that's what we really basically live off. This is our bread and butter. We had revenues of $50 million, and we had expenditures of 51 plus. So we actually spent more money than we received during the year. That's called deficit spending. That means that you can't continue that year after year, because if you continue that, eventually you run out of money, period. So we overspent by $1,160,000, $917. So what that looks like when you have the beginning fund balance of $12 million and we have a $1.1 million deficit spending, we have a reduced fund balance. So we're at just under $11 million. This deficit spending represents 2.26% of all of our spending, which is a considerable amount. So our fund balance and our unrestricted ends up being, here's the $11 million. And here is how it's broken out. And the next one will have a pie chart so that you'll be able to see it more easy. The restricted fund balance is $2.7 million, and combined is $13 million, basically $13,600,000 is our unfund balance in our general fund, both restricted and unrestricted. What that looks like visually is this. This is maybe a little bit easier to look at. Right here is our unappropriated monies, so we have $6 million there. Restricted, $3 million, and $3.5 million for reserve for economic uncertainty. And then these are designated funds, so we have $900,000 designated. I will be showing you what these are in the following slides. So, since the second interim, our revenues came in at $247,000 more than we expected, or more than it was budgeted, should I say. And our expenditures came in $2,280,000 less than budgeted, and that's pretty typical. And our contributions decreased, and that's mostly, we'll see that as well, by $434,000. That means that it increases our revenues. A decrease in contributions means basically an increase in revenues. And so, as I said earlier, we have additional revenues of a change to the end fund balance of $2.9 million, or almost $3 million, compared to the second interim. So, go back here. Each one of these, the increase in revenues, the decrease in expenditures, and the decrease in contributions will be shown on the next 3 pages. 3 pages or 3 slides. So first we're going to look at the revenues. The LCFF came in a little bit lower than expected because at the end of the year they dropped the funding from 44.97% of gap funding to 42.97%. And so that decreased our revenues. In addition to that, our unduplicated count went down from 72.58% to 71.21%. So that accounts for this $107,000 decrease in revenues. On the other hand, we got a little bit more money in the state lottery and mandated cost revenues, $38,000. And local revenues, we got more funds there. That comes from donations to our sites, as well as interest, a refund from STRS. STRS, a few years later, they recalculate STRS that we've paid, and they refunded us some. And the big one was actually an E-rate reimbursement. So what that was is that we had an E-rate project that was completed in the 16-17 school year, and then E-rate reimbursed us in the 17-18 school year. And so that was over $300,000. It was $318,000 or so of that. So that was really nice. We were able to take advantage of E-rate funding to upgrade our technology internet services. Our decrease in transfers to restricted programs, from unrestricted to restricted programs, it decreased because what happened is we had $1 million planned for textbook spending, adoption, and we spent basically $750,000. And so we brought in less revenues because we have some revenues that we were transferring in from Fund 17 to cover the textbook purchase. And since the textbook purchase ended up being less than budgeted, we didn't have to transfer those funds in. And so that was a decrease in revenues. But on the next slide, you'll see we have a decrease in expenditures to match that decrease in revenues. And those funds still reside for textbooks in Fund 17. So here's our expenditures, and again, we had a $2.3 million reduction in expenditures. A lot of that has to do with per diems, stipends, and substitutes. So the budget was higher in those areas than we needed. A small change in certificate, it actually went up $4,500, and the benefits ended up going up because of some STRS and workers' compensation expenditures. The big one here is supplies, and for the most part, the majority of that is because of site carryovers. We have discretionary funds, S&C grant funds, and donation funds, and that accounts for the majority of the $1.2 million. And then in here as well is that $274,000 less that we spent for the textbooks. Well, therefore, the expenditures here are less by that as well. That's what accounts for this decrease. And then a decrease in services, again, site carryovers in discretionary funds and S&C grant funds, as well as donations. And then some from district-wide S&C grant fund expenditures. Furthermore, we have a decrease in expenditures as a result of increased indirect costs that we charge to categorical programs. Categorical programs do pay for part of our overall costs for the district, and so we charge those categorical programs for that, so that brings money into the general fund unrestricted. We also have to contribute. On the other side, we contributed to a categorical program. We contributed to the food service program because our food prices that we're charging to pay students is below what the federal government feels that we should charge. And so they consider that we are subsidizing, that the free and reduced students are subsidizing the paid students. And so we cannot use federal food service funds to pay that. We have to transfer funds in to pay that from the general fund. And so that third slide from those, the contributions, the decrease in contributions, special ed cost us $300,000 less than expected. And we have other restricted programs, are all the title programs, Title I, Title II, and Title III. Those are the federal programs. We contributed less to that than expected by $123,000, and we had to contribute a little bit more to educator effectiveness, $2,000, and that program is now closed out. It has sunsetted. We won't be having that anymore. So then, part of these end fund balances are, as we said, some of them are locally restricted, and those locally restricted ones are the site donations that the sites have. So we have almost $192,000 of those, and we have site carryover funds from their discretionary funds of $549,000, and the supplemental and concentration grant funds of $160, almost $9,000. So we have $909,000 of funds that, end balance funds that are designated for specific purposes. So our restricted end fund balances are all right here. The big one is a restricted routine maintenance and repair. We will be eating those up as we're repairing schools in the future. Right now, we have been fixing schools with bond funds, and those funds will reduce and go away and be used up. And then the state expects us to maintain the facilities that we use some of their funds on to improve. So we're required to put 3% of all of our general fund expenditures into routine maintenance and repair and for future maintenance projects. And then we have this lottery fund, so this will be used for textbooks in the future. And then the Medi-Cal, that's some reimbursement that we get that we have to spend for certain purposes. It seems strange that it's a reimbursement that we are required to spend for certain purposes. And it doesn't sound like a reimbursement, does it? So we have $2 million and almost $700,000 in restricted end fund balances. Then we have balances of grants that we still have available to us. These don't show up in that because a grant, the revenues in a grant are not recognized until they are spent. It's just the way the grant works. Both the federal and the state governments require this. So these are revenues and expenditures that will happen in the future, but we do have these funds available to us. And again, these are Title I and Title III mostly, and a very small amount in tube here. So that is the unaudited actuals, and I wanted to take this opportunity to give you just a very short budget update because the state passed the budget, and I want to update you on how that affects the district. The majority of information will come to you at the first interim, but I did feel that this is important enough to just show you right now. The state adopted the budget, but that was after our budget was put together. If you recall, Governor Brown wanted to increase the LCFF funding by 3%. COLA was 2.71%, and he said he wanted to augment it by increasing it by an additional 0.29% up to 3%. Well, the state decided they wanted to increase it, the legislature, by 3.7%. So that's really good news. We've got ongoing increased funds. On the other hand, they said it had to come from somewhere, so they said it was going to come from the one-time funds. So they decreased the one-time funds from $344 per ADA to $184 per ADA. The decrease is about twice as large as the increase. However, and I'll show you those numbers, the increase is an ongoing increase, so we can recognize it year after year. And the decrease is we only recognize one-time funds in the year that we get them. So the decrease is only affected in this particular year, and so the out years won't show that. So what does that mean for Jefferson? Well, up here, this is the current year. So this is this budget year, 18-19. The increase in LCFF funding from 3.0% to 3.7% brings us an additional $430,000 for the current year, and out years are going to be down here. So this would be what that will be in 19-20, 20-21, and 21-22. So these are the increases. 2022 is really like double these others, and that's because the COLA went up from 3.17 to 3.42%. And so this is how it's going to affect our budget in the out years, multi-year projection. Again, the reduction in the one-time funds from 334 per ADA to 184 is a $943,000 loss in the current year. So in the current year, our budget is reduced by $500,000. But in the out years, we have these increases in the budget, which is really good. However, the bad news here is we continue to have declining enrollment. And this is, I would say, the most serious thing that's going on with this district right now. Because this year is following last year and the previous year. This year, as of September 4th, so that was the day after the Labor Day weekend, we were down 121 students. That equals to about 117 ADA. The other years, the other 2 years, we were down this as well. And so we're down, a lot of students. And just these students alone from this year, in the current year, we have declining enrollment protection. We won't be dinged this year for the reduced student population that we have. We'll continue to get like we had the students like last year. However, we only have 1 year of that. So next year, if these students, we don't get these students back, this number of students back, next year we'll have a $1.1 million loss in ADA. The following year and the following year as well, it grows each year by the COLA. So these are funds. So when we look at these increases up here of $500,000 because of ongoing LCFF revenues, we have double the amount of loss due to declining enrollment. And so this is a serious situation that we didn't have for quite a few years before, and now we're experiencing. That is just simply in addition. That is not a part of the unaudited actuals. I just felt that it is important enough to have you see this now instead of just waiting until the first interim and explaining it then. So, questions?
Thank you, Ms. Kessler. We have a question.
On page 10, it says routine maintenance and repair, zero?
Okay. So because we accepted SFP monies, which is State Facilities Program monies, in the past to help pay for site improvements. We have bond money that we do site improvements, but we also got SFP monies for site improvements. The state requires that we move 3% of whatever our expenditures are in our general fund. We have to move 3% on a yearly basis into the routine maintenance and repairs. And the reason for this is they want us to maintain the projects that they help fund to improve facilities. So we have to do this for 20 years since the last time we accepted S&P grant funds. And we are in the process of getting more SFP grant funds, so it will continue for another 20 years beyond that. And so these funds are used to maintain. We can't actually do new buildings with it. We have to maintain things that we already have with these funds.
So where is that money at now? Is it in?
It's in the general fund restricted.
But is it labeled as maintenance and repair?
Yes.
Okay. So then,
and that is on another slide here.
So why don't you just take this out of the paper then? We're not covering it.
So on slide 12, at the top of slide 12, that's where the funds reside.
Slide 12.
Oh, I'm sorry. The zero is because since the second interim, there have been no changes.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Did you have another question? A
No,
follow-up question?
that was the main one that I did have another one, where was it at? Page 7. I imagine this is an increase rather than a decrease? Don't you usually put parentheses when it's a decrease? Do you usually put parentheses?
Right, okay, so, see, for instance, in the revenues, increase in revenues is not bracketed, so it's an increase. If it was bracketed.
That's what I'm saying, is that what, that means this is an increase?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Trustee Ali?
Yeah, I had a question about the, you mentioned that we didn't have to spend as much money as we thought on special ed. Could you talk a little more about that?
Basically, a majority of that happens to be with like the county classes and what will the end cost for the county classes be. We get like a heads up throughout the year what they're planning on charging us, and we adjust our budget accordingly. And they have a tendency of like increasing it mid-year, and so we increase it according to what they say, and then depending on the number of students that are there or how much they have not spent, right? Mm-hmm. If they haven't spent as much as they planned on spending, then we don't have to pay them as much. So they'll have less expenditures, but they'll have less revenues because we're not going to be giving them as much revenues as they expected. So the majority of that comes from county classes. And then also some, maybe some services that were planned on that the special ed department didn't need to use.
Thank you.
Do we have any other comments or questions?
So these are always the subtractions too. That's a minus.
Do you have another question, Ms. Brizuela?
No, just trying to figure this out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Kessler. At this time, we will move towards certificated personnel.
We do need a motion
sorry.
for approval.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And a vote.
This is broken. Holy cow.
Do we have a motion to approve? Our fiscal year 2017-18 unaudited actuals.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the unaudited actuals for fiscal year 2017-18 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Have to say no.
Now we move on to certificated personnel reports, and at this time, we have certificated retirements for 2018, 2019. And we have an item on here that we're not looking forward to approving tonight.
You don't have to.
The administration. The administration recommends approval of the retirement request from the following certificated employees and requests appropriate resolutions be prepared commending them for their years of service with the district. And the first being Carolyn Casey, principal of Garden Village School, effective January 5th, 2019. Ms. Casey has been employed by the district since August 12th, 2002. The second is Ms. Tambra Voigt, first grade teacher at Thomas Edison School, effective September 11th, 2018. Ms. Voigt has been employed by the district since August 31st, 1990. We don't have a motion, Ms. Casey.
Oh, well, you can't go on your trip.
Do we have any comments or motion from the board?
Well, let's make a motion first, then I guess. Somebody else make a motion except me? I'm the only one making motions here tonight?
We're motionless. Do we have a?
They're motionless. Okay, I'll make a motion. We accept the two retirements from certificated personnel, but Ms. Casey, I don't know We might have to separate this tonight. Anyway, as presented.
We have a second?
Second.
You have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, now we can say something.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say I'm going to miss you, too. You've done a great job. Every school you've been to has been prospering. And when Miss Casey went to Garden Village, she told me she thought she died and went to heaven. And I think the children there and the families think the same thing, that they're happy that you were there. They're going to miss you a lot. So I think maybe you might come back once in a while, right? Well, she told me that when I was, talking to her. So. But you have done a great job. Thank you so much for your services.
Do we have any other comments or? No?
Well, thank you so much for all your service and congratulations. And I'm also going to miss your bubbly personality, and you're always so positive and smiling when you come here like you're doing right now. But yeah, thank you once again.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. I enjoyed a summer with you, which I'm glad that I was able to have. And I have loved your level of integrity, but I really loved your honesty. I love that you speak your truth and you own it and you share it, and I really embraced that. I love it. Thank you. It's been very refreshing for me. We're going to miss you, but please come back and visit. I mean, I'm sure the parents and the children that you've served would love to see you back, but congratulations to you and enjoy your retirement. We now have certificate resignations, and the administration recommends acceptance of the following resignation and requests. An appropriate resolution be prepared commending for years of service with the district. Ms. Jennifer Nguyen, instructional support teacher at the district office, and it be effective August 17th, 2018. And Ms. Nguyen has been employed by the district since August 25th, 2008. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion that we accept the resignation of Ms. Jennifer Nguyen, instructional support teacher at the district office, effective August 17th, 2018.
Thank you. Do we have a second? We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We have another retirement under classified personnel, and the administration recommends approval of the retirement request from the following classified employees and requests an appropriate resolution be prepared commending them for their years of service with the district. The first being Margie Chu. I'm sorry, is it
Instructional assistant.
Instructional assistant, ASP, effective August 20th, 18th. And her date of hire was April 3rd, 1995. Wow. Mr. Vincent Wallace, maintenance technician, effective November 9th, 2018, and his date of hire was October 27th, 1980. Mr. Robert Ritchie, junior maintenance technician, effective December 31st, 2018, and date of hire was January 6th, 1969. Wow. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, I was born 1969. Wow. So that was a good year. Yeah. Do we have a motion?
Well,
I make a motion to approve the retirement request of the classified personnel as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and congratulations for your service.
when I was hired in the district, it was 1967, I think it was 67. And I remember when they hired him, he was, I think, 17 and a half or 18. He was so young. And he's the longest serving employee in our district.
Wow.
And I am really surprised he's leaving. I mean, I'm serious. I think we were going to have to roll him out later, you know?
Right.
But he just really loved this district, and he did so much. So he will now get to enjoy his retirement.
For him. Good for all of them. We now move on to board policies and administrative regulations. And we have the board policies and administrative regulations for March 2018, CSBA board policy revisions, first reading. And the board will review and revise board policies and administrative regulations from March 2018's CSBA board policy revisions as stated in a first reading. Do we have any discussion items? Mr. Koo, I feel that you are wanting to share with us.
Is it because I'm in the presence of Rebecca Douglas's? I don't have anything.
Okay. No, if we have no discussion around this, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of the March 2018 CSBA board policy revisions.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. Board Policy Administrative Regulations for May 2018, CSBA Board Policy Revisions, first reading. The board will review and revise board policies, administrative regulations from May 2018, CSBA Board Policy Revisions as stated in a first reading. Do we have any discussion? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the board policy administrative regulations from May 2018 as a first reading. Sorry.
Second.
Thank you. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I just want to say it's pretty amazing that we're pretty current with this, because I know when we started, we were about a year behind. So I just, yeah, this is great.
Well,
progress.
I just want you to know that somebody picked up my packet, my binder, in front of my house. I didn't get it till last night, and I read all this, well, everything, but I read all these things, and I had to keep waking myself up. It was a lot to read, but it wasn't as bad as some of it that we get. I mean, it flowed nicely, but oh my gosh, never again.
Bedside reading. I'm glad you got
But
through
I
it.
was determined to finish it.
Thank you. We now look to the governance team for any comments, reports, and reflection from the board and on meeting guidelines. And we'll start, Trustee Ali.
No comments, and focused on the first guideline, which is keeping our focus on the best interests of the students.
Thank you.
Well, I do it every meeting, so I'll do it again. Item number 1, focus on the best interests of the children. And I thought tonight, the children came tonight, it was really great to see them so excited and so happy about learning something and teaching us something. So that was great.
Thank you. Trustee Manuel?
The third one, actively listen openly, build upon ideas of others, and looking for common ground and paraphrasing for understanding. Just, staying on point with the agenda and opening up for discussion if I need it, but I didn't, so.
Thank you. Trustee Koo?
I also selected, we will keep our focus on the best interest of our students. I also want to extend this guideline to Ms. McNesby as well, too, because she spent her time on the best interest of our students, so I just want to extend that as well.
Yeah. Thank you. I, too, echo the sentiments of going with number 1 tonight. We will keep our focus on the best interests of our students and extend that to the families that we serve, and still just in the spirit of Ms. McNesby's great work, and I look forward to trying to be a little bit like her every day and hope that we can all make each day count, because we just never know. So at this time, before we convene to closed session, if we have any persons that are wishing to address the board on any closed session items? And we do not. So Before we convene to closed session, we would like to take a moment of silence. We did share her bio earlier. I just want to ask again that we be in the spirit of her light and the wonderful experiences and moments that we were able to share through her stellar leadership. And at this time, if we could take a moment of silence in honor of Miss Linda Flynn McNesby, teacher at Woodrow Wilson Elementary School. Thank you. Meeting adjourned to closed session. We have a 5-minute break.